Okay, so we're here today with Nosa and Folly, the co-founders of EatDrinkLagos. Thank you so much for making the time to meet with us.
Uh, Thank you for having us.
Yeah, so let's just start with talking about what exactly is EatDrinkLagos.
EatDrinkLagos is a food website, and it's a website where residents of Lagos, people that are visiting Lagos, can find places to eat and drink in Lagos and just read about food in Lagos. Because in addition to reviews, we have like different types of food articles that are relevant to Nigerians and about Nigerian food. And EatDrinkLagos also organizes a food festival to promote Nigerian culinary talent to people that are mixologists, bartenders, chefs, professional chefs, hobby chefs, anyone that cooks within the boundaries of Nigeria can be at EatDrink Festival.
So is it strictly Nigerian food or all types of cuisine?
It's any type of cuisine, just as like focused on Lagos. So basically, restaurants in Lagos, food vendors in Lagos, more or less.
Or actually, some food vendors actually come from outside Lagos to be a part of EatDrink Festival. And EatDrink Festival isn't only in Lagos, because it's also in Abuja as well. So,
Have you both been living in Lagos your whole lives?
Intermittently, yes, more
yes,
or less.
more or less.
Okay, so where did you get the idea to start something like this?
At the time we started EatDrink Festival, then it was restaurant discovery in Lagos was particularly challenging because we didn't have like a Yellow Pages or a Yelp, or Google businesses weren't as common. So when we would find somewhere, it wasn't very easy to share that with other people or for other people to discover restaurants. And so we started going to different restaurants and we're like, hey, we can start a blog on this. And then it was even particularly difficult to find restaurants, so that whenever we would go to a restaurant, we'll have to drop a pin, a Google Maps pin, so that when we want to write on the blog later, we would then hyperlink the pin we dropped as the restaurant's location with the address. But now, if we want to add a location, we can just actually search like a restaurant there, and the restaurants usually will have a Google business, and then we can link directly to there.
So it's not because you love food?
I mean, it's partially, I guess. Yeah.
Partially. Yeah, I mean, we did enjoy going to the restaurant and we wanted to tell people about it. Yeah. I wanted to solve a problem.
Did you have any experience with doing reviews or blogging before?
Yeah, I had some. I'd run a couple like small sites in the past, but nothing like too serious or anything. So I had some experience with blogging and the internet. So
Yeah. I'd had a blog before, but nothing serious.
So how do you manage everything? Is it like a full-time job? Is it half-half? Are you also doing 9 to 5? How does it work?
it's still half for me. I mean, she's transitioned into it full time now, but I still have my 9 to 5 at the moment. So it's still something we juggle with like full time work.
In a world where everyone is creating a course on how to screw the 9 to 5 life and so on, why would you not leave it completely and just focus on this? Just curious.
I mean, for me, I'd say it's more having like a proper plan in place. Like I wouldn't advise anybody to just jump into, because they're both the pros and cons. Like there has to be like a proper pipeline. I feel like you transition out of 9 to 5 once the side business is becoming big enough and sustainable enough, or actually demand your attention as much. Like if the side business needs you to make more money, kind of thing, it's like needs you to be in meetings, needs you to be pitching to make money, then you'd be like, okay, yeah, you can juggle both of them. But if it's something where the side business is still very passive, it's still like a hobby, it's not like fully monetized yet, I wouldn't recommend just like ditching your 9 to 5 as well.
And I guess for e-drink, I guess it's easier if one person is doing it full time and one person is not, because I don't know if it would I don't know if if there was just one person working on e-drink and everything, and you had a 9 to 5, it may not be possible to manage.
So yeah, we've worked really well as a team as far as managing, because when we were both like we both had 9 to 5s originally, and it's something where like one person picks up the other person's slack if somebody's too busy, kind of thing. So it's like now the business is, as it's growing, it's starting to demand more attention, and we're trying to like slowly transition into something we do full time. So she's made the first step. I'll probably join like down the line, kind of thing.
So you also have the festival side, right? Because we were talking about transitioning into a business that can sustain all of the team members, right? And then maybe even grow beyond that. Is the festival the main component of the business, or how does it work as a business?
So as a business, originally it started out as just a simple blog. Then it started expanding more into like a proper media website. So then we started monetizing through advertising and all that. Then we ventured into events, because that's another stream of revenue as for a media business. So then we went into events, and like even now we're going into like event technology as well. So everything is just like flowed into one and the other. So it's like the blog gave us the festival gave us our event tech company. So it's just everything's interconnected. So that's how it's grown, more or less.
But it's the events that make it sustainable as a business as of now, or?
Yes, if that's what you're asking, like which part of the business generates more revenue, content or events?
Yeah, probably be events.
Yes, events.
What have been the reactions of people from Lagos to what you've been doing? Any exciting stories of people, or?
I think readers have always found EatDrink Festival interesting because it seemed to them like a breath of fresh air. Like when we first started, people really liked the conversational style on the blog, and it was something people needed to find restaurants in Lagos. And then the first time we did our festival, we were like, okay, let's just see how this would happen, and we were very impressed. Like the turnout was like about 2,000 people showed up for our first event after just over a year of the website. So I would say that based on that and the growth of our festival over the years, that people do like EatDrinkLagos and EatDrink Festival.
More or less. So yeah, because the website is more or less created like our niche and created the market for everything we wanted to do subsequently. So like the website, that following from the website, that niche audience is what those were the attendees at our first festival. Those were the attendees at our smaller events and other things. So that's what we've leveraged. So the website is more or less as far as from reader perspective, it's been very good on that side. I mean, restaurant owners maybe not, because you're reviewing their restaurants. It might not be good, might not be positive all the time. There might be negative reviews, and they might not be too pleased. So on that side of things, it's not all rosy there. But as far as like readers, I think we really cultivated our audience, and I think we've done really well with that.
Yeah. What I took from the website, you're quite a few contributors to the site. How did you find each other? How did you find together? How did you get to know each other?
So, originally it started as both of us, and we met during our service, because you have to do that mandatory service here.
Service here in Nigeria.
In Nigeria, so that's how we met. Then our contributors are more or less organic. It's more people that we felt were like us.
And people email sometimes like, oh, I want to contribute to the site. So some of them have come that way, and sometimes we did put out like a notice like who wants to write for EatDrinkLagos, and then people also.
So it's just people identifying with what we do, kind of thing.
Was it challenging for you to step out of your day job and say, okay, now I'm doing this full time? Was that scary?
Actually, it wasn't, and it literally felt like a relief to actually do something that I always like. I would wake up in the morning and be excited to do. Not like I didn't like my job before now, but sometimes like someone will be talking to me about something I absolutely have no interest in. I'm just like, yeah, sure, we can get that done, sorted, no problem. But sometimes, like now, if like a brand emails me like, oh hey, we want to like create content with you, want to do this, I'm always so excited to receive those kinds of things. And unless the person is really annoying, I'll just be like, okay, yeah, let's just do this and get it over with. Unlike some, like let's say with another job that I didn't, let's say I started out loving it, but like halfway through I'm like, okay, this is not that much fun anymore. So it's really exciting in one word.
What because there's a lot of glorification of being a blogger and that kind of lifestyle, and I personally love it, but what are the maybe difficult things or the challenges you would say that are not talked about?
Oh, there are lots. Like for example, I don't really like many things that have to do with editorial. I hate like right now I still have to copy edit all the posts from the guest contributors. That's so boring. Scheduling posts, like making sure like the content calendar is like scheduled and like that's awful. That's the part no one talks about.
There's lots of
Admin work
that you have to do, like behind
the
scenes,
scenes.
like setting up everything so it looks the way it looks on the outside.
Right.
Nobody's
talks about that.
That's not particularly glamorous. It's very tedious.
Yeah. Or like let's say, like I said, speaking to like brands to create content, no one talks about the time when you have to send like a 10-page proposal, exactly what you're going to do. All that part isn't fun, but it's nice to have ideas, talk with each other, talk with the brand manager. Oh, here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to do. And it's like, okay, can you put that on the document and share it with me? And you're like, but you have to do it.
And what does like day-to-day life look for you?
So for me, like the first thing I do usually, I make a to-do list, and my to-do list is split into 3 different parts. Like there's my to-do list for content for EatDrinkLagos, then there's my to-do list for EatDrink Festival for the festival part, and then I also have a to-do list for our event technology business. So I'm like, okay, then I work through my to-do list in each one of those regards, in each one of those things, and I get it done. How about you?
For me, because of my 9 to 5, I would say like it's either very early in the morning or like late at night. So like I handle like most of the social stuff, like scheduling posts, making sure like whatever I have to submit like in the afternoon is like done already. So if it's like a post I'm supposed to do, I do that early. Then what's it called? At the end of the day, I try to get like work done for like the next day. And like weekends are mostly when I try to like plan and be like, okay, this is our content calendar for the week. This is what we're going to post on this day. So I don't have to think about that stuff in the morning when I wake up. It's like, oh, what's supposed to go on today? It's like I already handled that over the weekend. So that's more my schedule. That's how it works for me.
You guys started with the review of restaurants in Lagos and organizing that information, basically a review site,
Yes.
which gave you the traffic. Then you started to monetize a little bit through advertisements. Then you started the event site, which actually made it a real business that seems to be sustainable and growing. And now you added the event technology part. Can you speak a bit more about that and where you want to go with that?
Okay, so to speak about that, we'll kind of go backwards to like when we started doing events. When we started doing events, it was really hard to sell tickets for any of our events online because we were a little guy and most of the websites that sell tickets in Nigeria were built for bigger events. You couldn't just like set up an event by yourself and go live. You'd have to go for a meeting, get approval for your event, and do all of that.
Yeah, like ticketing platforms were built for like big concerts. They weren't built for like 10, 20 people events. It wasn't built like small workshops kind of thing. They were built for big like Davido Biscuit type concert, not like Nosa and Folly get together kind of thing.
So then we used to do the lunch club, and selling tickets for that was so cumbersome. We're like, okay, list the event here. Okay, reserve your ticket, then transfer to this a bank account to reserve your ticket. Then we did like a Shopify website. We're able to do all of that, and then eventually we stopped that. Then we had the festival, and we needed to sell tickets for the festival. And we're like, okay, we want to build like a simple ticketing tool that can help us do this. And then that's when we created Tix, which is our ticketing website. And like the I don't know, the word is escaping my mind now, but the main feature of Tix is that anybody can create an event by themselves and go live, regardless of your size, and go live to selling paid tickets in as little as 5 minutes. We don't have to manually approve it, or we don't even have to manually approve your settlement. All of that will happen automatically daily. The next day from your event sales will get settled into your bank account.
Yeah, so it's just basically building like a ticketing platform that we wanted to have when we started originally. And so that was the idea behind like Tix, just simple DIY, because a lot of the stuff we did, because we didn't really hire anyone, a lot of our approach to everything has been DIY. So we're like very big on Canva. Our website, we like did most of the designs for the website. Like this, we built like did this, because it's not like a super fancy website. You could probably check it out. There's lots of white space. So a lot of it is stuff that we've done by ourselves because we didn't have money to like hire somebody to do it professionally. So we when we went to the event technology side of things, it was like, if back then, what would we have needed? Like what would we have needed to get started to like have events? So that's what we wanted to build. So we built that out. Then we added like a couple of wrinkles. So like we added like access control, like wristbands. If you're like selling wristbands and you want to like scan your wristbands, like when you go to like big concerts like Coachella and all that, you have like all those wristbands to like make payments and all that kind of stuff. So we wanted to do like an end-to-end event thing, regardless of what size of event you are. And you don't have to like call me and say, you don't have to come to me and have a meeting in my office and sit down and be like, oh, this is what I want to do.
Except you're using the access control or cashless payments.
So like everything is all set up for yourself, and it's like if you want to go like really, really big scale, then you like can call us and like to come help you set up. But beyond that, so that's what we're trying to do, like basically the DIY.
And I guess we can add on to that with talking about like the cashless payments, because when we used to do EatDrink Festival, is like there's a big commercial aspect of it. There's hundreds over the years we've helped hundreds of vendors sell like products at the event, but usually we have about 30 to 50 vendors at a single event, and if each one of them is operating POS systems, it makes the networks can get really slow and jam, and then there's network downtime. I think in 2017 we had about over 30 minutes at our event, and there were no transactions could be processed because the POS was down, the ATM van was down. We're like, okay, we have to solve this. So then it was 2018, we decided that how can we implement like a cashless payment system using like RFID technology, so people could top up their wristbands and then use that to transact at the event. And so by doing that, we were able to ensure 100% uptime, because that is like a closed loop offline system, and then that doesn't rely on network technology or anything.
With big events, there's so many aspects to big events. There's always, you want to avoid like ticket fraud when people are coming in. People want to pay for like buy merchandise or buy food. So there's a lot of commercial aspects to events beyond just organizing, selling the tickets at that point. So that's where we added that extra incentive. So if you're having like a big event, we can come support you and like provide you with that service and give you all these extra add-ons to make your event take you to the next level. Because right now there are no solutions that are built specifically for events. It's like the whole ecosystem of events and like managing events. And so like what people tend to do is use like different elements from different things. So maybe you have like an Excel sheet as your access control. You sold tickets on maybe another ticketing website. You're using cash payments. It's like 3 different systems that have from 3 different ecosystems that are not particularly connected and they're not linked together. So what we wanted to do was just link those 3 aspects of an event and just put everything in one solution and
So one tool to rule them all.
Yeah. What I really like, and I think it's worth pointing out, is that you guys started with a content website, then you had the first cash flow in advertising, then you created an event business, which does not necessarily need an investment by an investor because people pay cash for the tickets or something. So you usually every event in and of itself should be profitable, ideally. And then you use all the experience from that to create software that you would have loved to have for your own event. So I think that's really, really genius too.
So it's like a natural evolution of where we've gone. So
how did you finance the programming of the ticketing system?
So a lot of it
Go ahead.
is between friends. Like we've had friends, and so I work in technology. I work for like a financial technology company. So I'm used to like requirements, documents, like process flows, and all of that. So we had like a friend that was a programmer. So it was like I more or less did all the documentation and said this is how it should work, and he just implemented like the code. And he was like, he thought the idea was great because he saw it as a problem that we had and he had as well, and he wanted to help out.
Yeah, I can't code. But I've worked with lots of developers in like my career as well because I used to work for a technology company, but I can't code. But I'm great at operations.
So you partnered with someone that liked the idea and brought him on board for that.
So he's like our technical co-founder.
Regarding the ticketing system, one of my questions would be, I know that there are similar solutions sometimes in Europe or that have that, but my challenge whenever I was doing startup mentoring, for example in Ghana, I wanted to show them a tool that I'm using maybe in Europe or that I know from the US, but then either it does not work because they've blocked Ghana for whatever silly reason, or the payment system doesn't make sense. So I assume your solution is really targeted.
Yeah, it was very because we used Eventbrite one time, and Eventbrite doesn't support Nigeria
in paid ticket.
Yeah.
So would really love to take for our platform, which is Tix, to be available in Nigeria, Ghana, as many countries as possible in Africa. So Africa, ticketing for Africa and not just Nigeria.
I love it. I mean, and whenever I use a website builder, and then I travel the world and I see that my website is not available in Ghana, I get so angry, and I actually canceled a subscription and moved my entire website because it was for a project that I wanted to show the world, and here in West Africa, I was like, what? It's not visible? I wrote their support, they were not supportive. I said, okay, that's it.
I'll even tell you like something similar. There's I don't know if you're familiar with Tech Cabal. No. They're like a technology blog, and they were having like a town hall thing for like on tech, but they were selling tickets on Shopify, and Shopify had geo-blocked Nigeria, and it was like tickets for an event in Nigeria, but people in Nigeria could not access it unless you use the VPN.
Yeah.
And I thought that didn't make any sense at all.
It doesn't make sense, but then that's also an opportunity, I think, for young software developers here or anyone that wants to build a business here, and grab that market share, because you need these solutions to help other people to also create their stuff, right?
People are trying to create different types of events, and this is not something they would want to think of doing. Like when we started originally, it wasn't a thing we wanted to do. But it's like it had to be done, and it's like if you've done it, might as well share with other people.
If you could partner with anyone right now and ask them for anything, who would that be, and what would you ask them for?
If I could partner with anybody, okay, I don't know if they would. Like, I guess I could partner with a company that would give me like a full-time engineering team.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, what company would that? Would that be Google? I'll partner with, I don't know, a company.
Andela could give you an
engineering team. Yeah, Andela could give me an engineering team. Google could give me an engineering. Yeah, Google or Andela or any company that are like, hey, take developers.
For me, it would be other ticketing platforms. like the guys that do the big ticketing platforms, because they only handle like one end, because they don't do like the access control. You just because you just sell the tickets, and when you sell tickets on a big platform, you get like an Excel sheet, and it's nothing really fancy. Just like a sheet of everybody that bought the ticket, and you have to like manually take it off. And it's like we have like this whole access control back end, and it's like we wouldn't mind if everyone that was selling tickets plugged into us and we offered you like, hey, just give the. I mean, you don't have to use my ticketing site, but I can give you like the whole access control aspect to it, where your work doesn't just stop at selling the ticket. There has to be like support on the day of the event, like helping people, like processing the tickets you sold. Like, I mean, you sell it and you give them a piece of paper, but how do you validate
Data
that piece
on
of
entry.
paper?
How do you know how many people are at the event at a given time? How do you know if you're
How
at
do you help-
capacity?
yeah. How do you help event organizers like get their data?
Data.
'Cause data is one big thing, especially when you're looking for sponsors. And when you're looking for sponsors, they always want to know, what am I getting out of this? Like, why should I give you 5 million naira? What's his? And it's like,
What's
it's
my
either
ROI?
you have an understanding, or they just blindly support you. But it would be good if an event organizer could go to like a sponsor meeting and say, I have this data. 10,000 people came to my event. On average, they spent 5,000 naira. They were between X and Y age, like 18 to 24, and it's like these are the people I'm helping you target, and it's like suddenly your proposals and your pitches are much better because you're armed with data.
I mean, my final question would be something that we always ask everyone that we meet. What would be your advice to young people in Nigeria or perhaps even in Africa?
So, I think my advice would be to young women in Africa. I think it's so. From working like traditional workplace, I see lots of women having like fake humility, and men are never really humble. They're like always roaring around the office like, oh, well done on that project. It's like, yeah, like, I spent 5 weeks doing it and I did this and this. And I'm like, oh, it was nothing. Like, no, if it was not nothing, yes, you always have to take your credit and own your work and be very proud and bullish. You don't need to be fake humble, because then everyone else is going to get past you, especially the men. So that's my advice.
I mean, my advice would be, it's hard to top that one. My advice would be, just be authentic in whatever you're doing. Like, if you're starting a business, get into a business in something that interests you. Because a lot of people tend to start businesses on things they're not really familiar with, or things that don't really interest them. Like, maybe you start a restaurant, but you don't really like food. You don't really care about how food works. And somehow that always reflects in like your end product, because once you understand what you're doing, you always have like this extra attention to detail in what you're putting out, because you're already a user of your product and you know what you're trying to do already. So that's what I would say, like, be very, in whatever you do, try to be very authentic and be very honest in your approach to business. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing all of this.
Thank you.
No